right, everybody, bring it in. Bring it in, boys. Bring it in, boys. Bring it in.
Bring it in.
Wait, we're not in the losers lounge. Hold on.
Oh, no, Alyssa.
Oh, no. This is a horrible omen.
What did you do?
Super producer Alyssa with the first L of the show. 1 second into it. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the DM Rear Dogs podcast.
Let's go.
We're back.
Let's go, people.
Almost forgot.
We're bouncing back. We're bouncing back here. We got a lot to go through. Harris and I are on the show today live from Ball Arena where Game 2 of the NBA Finals occurred. We're going to share our perspective. We're going to get some hangover takes. And then, I don't know about you fellas, but I got a chance to rewatch. I got a chance to go through.
Wow. Did you sleep?
I did sleep.
Wow.
I did sleep.
Lucky.
But we're going to go through all of the updated takes from Game 2 of the Finals today, and I think we're going to have more than enough to talk about. To help me with it is Brendan Vogt.
What's up, fellas? Happy to be here as always. Ready to turn it back on. Got a good night's sleep. Slept in the office. Feeling good.
Really?
Yeah, for a long time.
Wait,
For
is that part of the night's sleep? Or is that
Yeah,
those-
no,
are
I
those
just woke
two
up,
separate?
made
Yeah.
it to the office, went right back to sleep.
Pounding his fifth energy drink of the day.
So
Just
true.
one after the other. Over here, I got D-line.
Yeah, man. I did not.
That was the lowest energy. That was a rough start. It's like when you start your car, it's like that was D-line.
Yeah, man. I didn't sleep that good. I went out with Australians again.
Wow.
That's tough.
I would say that my world's been torn down, or up under,
Yeah,
from
almost
down
stuck the
under.
landing. Almost stuck it under.
Couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it. Over there, I got Harrison
Oh my
with.
God. I feel lucky not being at the game last night. That meant I didn't go out with the Australians. The Australians whose culture is sports and drinking.
Shoeies. Yeah.
And maybe in the reverse order.
Yeah,
Did you do any
I think it might
shoeies
be
last
reverse.
No, but I did get into appropriate competition phase with the Australians.
They're very like
brought it out
they're
of you.
sport oriented. Everything is a
I
competition.
got called the C word a lot. The See You Next Tuesday.
Oh, really? Wow.
A lot of times. And then I stepped up and I hit a bullseye with a dart and I was like,
Wait, you were playing darts while drunk at like 2 a.m.
I'm so glad I went home.
with Australians?
what's not clear about this picture?
Oh, that's
Sounds
hilarious.
dangerous.
All right. Well, let's get into some Nugget stuff here because it was,
What about Harrison?
I already introduced
Oh, you
him.
did?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
Yeah, I
sorry.
did. Yeah.
That's on me.
I think you were taking another nap.
I gotta say, so I hadn't been to a game this playoffs, and it really was nice going to it and being at the arena for a wide variety of reasons. Just part of it, just talking to different people, and it's one of the things I miss most about being there is just talking to the different media members and front office people and different things, and just that's really the value of it more than anything else. I honestly feel is the conversation. So that was great. But seeing the crowd, man, I have to give a huge shout out to Denver. You guys have underplayed this. That crowd is ready, man.
It's verbatim what I've said.
Well, you didn't say it the way I did.
Yeah.
Did you see the inflection I used
You're
when I
right.
said it?
You're
That's
right.
the thing
That's-
you're lacking, man.
I'll take notes.
So, yeah. So, this crowd, I mean, I just was so impressed with all the theatrics that go into everything and all of that and all of the moments. Like that second quarter run, the crowd was 50% of that run. I really mean it. Denver played some great defense, but I mean, Jeff Green hit a three. There was a couple like shots that you were like, Aaron Gordon hit a three. And again, I'm being a little tongue-in-cheek about this, but it was just one of those ones where I knew they were going in because the spirit of the game and the spirit of the crowd where you're like, oh, Jeff Green and Aaron Gordon are totally going to make threes if they're open right now. You know what I mean?
Well, I think you're glossing over the biggest part of the run. It was when
Everyone's-
Christian
let's just
Brown
insult each other
came
with
into the
everything.
game. I mean, the run started when Christian Brown had 2 steals in like his first 2 minutes. And
He picked the crowd up.
nothing gets the Ball Arena crowd going like a Christian Brown hustle play. I mean, we know that at this point in the season.
Win does this in a way that makes me not want to root for Christian Brown.
I mean, I'm not wrong, though.
You're not wrong.
That's when the run started. He changed the game.
did.
I thought the game was over after that run. And I agree. The crowd was awesome. I got chills like right before the game started. I've gotten chills and goosebumps before games 1 and 2 have started. Just the
been going around.
intros, just the feel of the final, seeing the final script with the Larry O.B. and Nuggets right next to it. There's nothing like it. There's really nothing like it. the playoffs have been awesome, but it hasn't come close to just the feeling you get before a finals game.
And to that point, you know what really stood out to me? Because there's been sellouts before. Like a Saturday game is going to be a sellout, right? Walking to the perch, it was like walking through the DNVR bar. And I was just like, how are there this many people on the concourse? They're not allowing more people into the arena. But yet, walking through it, I was just like, this is a lot of people. And it was just all Nuggets energy. You know what I mean? Like, it was all upbeat people, upbeat Nugget stuff. And that's why losing that game feels kind of dispiriting in a lot of ways, because of just how perfect I feel the crowd portion and the home court portion of it. You know, they brought it.
Yeah.
You know, Denver, and we get into some of the stuff. Like, I want to talk about big picture things here first. Miami is just really tough. I respect the hell out of this team. I really love them. They play connected basketball. They play team basketball, and they don't break. And one of the questions I had coming into this playoffs was, which team is tougher? Because I think Denver plays connected. I think Denver has toughness to them. Early returns on that favor Miami, I think, decidedly. Not like a knockout punch by any means. I think Denver now has a chance to be the tougher team in game 3, right? They have a chance to respond. But that's one thing I will say is that Miami team took knockout punches and didn't die. And it's just like, I was sitting next to a handful of other media members, and when Denver made that second quarter run, the consensus was, this is over.
Yep.
This Denver team is something special,
That's
man.
how it
Do you
felt.
do this? And it was like, even before the half, they snapped back. You know, that was the second quarter, even before the half. And I just have to tip my hat, because the way they do it is just to never, they have Jokic energy. You're up 20, you're down 20. You kind of play the exact same way. And that's one of the things that stood out to me, is this team is a zombie team. They don't die. You have to just keep shooting until the clock runs out.
Yeah. After game 1, one of my big takeaways from just the tone and the feel around the Heat was that they weren't even like that upset that they lost game 1.
Right.
They were so confident coming off of game 1, and I don't even think it was anything about how game 1 played out. I think they were just confident in themselves that they were going to bounce back and they were going to be the tougher team and they were going to play better and win game 2. Like, that's just the sense I got from Miami after game 1. And then what's a little concerning is that after game 2, I felt like the Nuggets took that loss like really hard.
Right.
Like, they were really upset and down after that loss last night in the locker room. And it was such a contrast, I feel like, to how Miami felt after game 1. And maybe that's because like Miami's on the road and you just want to steal one, and you have a little more pressure when you're playing at home and the higher seed to maintain that home court advantage. But Miami just has we've talked about the Nuggets even keel mindset all season and all playoffs, so they never get too high and too low. Miami is at a different level, I feel like they weren't even
absolutely are.
They weren't even thrown off a little by losing game 1. Like, that did nothing to them.
I think this is where Jimmy Butler's sort of leadership style, the bravado thing, this is where it manifests, right? It's not, I'm going to go shoot 55 times. He walks around with this smug confidence all the time, and I think it's for Caleb Martin and Vincent and Duncan Robinson.
It's so real, though. That we talk about hallway famers. That's what you're talking
around
about.
With that shirt, that look on his face, like he's unbothered. That shirt that says 3 more that he brought to the arena. That's not. I'm going to score 50 next game, and I know it. It's I believe in my team.
That's it.
Get behind me. We're good. And I think obviously the coaching staff gets a lot of credit, the players too. But this is what Jimmy does for the confidence. It lifts all tides around him.
Yeah. What do you think of this, Eric? The idea that he's saying that. Here's the thing. Denver is tough, but they hadn't been punched in the mouth. Let's be honest. They won the first 2 games of the round 1. They won the first 3, actually. Round 2, they got the closest it got was 2-2, but you're coming home. They hadn't lost at home yet, then a sweep. Denver hadn't been hit in the mouth. This is the first time they had, and I don't want to read too much into this. Maybe guys really are just sick. That's a real storyline. You know, when guys play poorly, and as poorly as Michael Porter did, you do wonder, is there something going around? But Porter and Gordon both left immediately after the game yesterday. Like,
so did KCP.
KCP as well. All 3 of those guys played horribly in this game and then left the arena early. This is the first time they were punched in the mouth. And the early returns, not saying it means everything, but the early returns are, they're handling it differently than they've handled the successes.
Well, I would say they got punched in the mouth in Phoenix.
You think?
Yeah, I think that they got beat pretty good in both games in Phoenix.
I agree.
They got historically shot against with Devin Booker. I mean, like they it hasn't been all smooth sailing. It's just been smooth sailing for a while now, and so I think if I can just imagine, I imagine they kind of forgot what it was like to actually struggle, and the fact that they were lost. It was very close. Obviously, like a ball could have gone in at the last second that prevented them from going to overtime, but like I think that those guys, specifically MPJ and KCP, like I understand why they're upset. Like they got kind of exposed in a way that was like, you guys weren't ready for this. You weren't ready for the game. You weren't like ready to. You kind of had it on cruise control, and you guys both looked really bad in this game, and people are talking about it. I mean, I get it. Like I think that Miami is coming off of like just having to just. I mean, Miami's been getting bludgeoned and then winning, and then getting beat up again and then winning. It's like
it's just the plan.
Yeah, dude. Like they're used to this. They're used to this. The Nuggets. I mean, this is probably your larger point is that Miami is in this place where they're ready to be in the mud all the time, no problem. Yep. The Nuggets are not quite in that mindset, but I would argue that the most important Nuggets are that Murray and Jokic showed that they have no problem going to the mattresses, and they're going to match the grittiness and the intensity. But like MPJ was like not ready at all, and he had like horrible lapses out there over and over, and like it was clear to everybody. So I get like why he just was like, I don't want to deal with this. I know what the problem is. Like I'll just, if we see this pattern repeated, like I don't. That to me shows mental weakness. But
well, I would say in the immediate aftermath, I think Denver seemed bothered, right? They seemed frustrated, and that's kind of what you're pointing at about the guys leaving and just, this or that. But that doesn't mean that they won't bounce back. Now it's like, hey, now you have to lock in. You have to be a lot more I mean, they were not locked in at all. I do think one of the underrated storylines, all of these things become cliche, but one of them is, did the team buy into their own hype maybe a little much? Did they kind of downshift into third gear thinking, we know what to do against this team, we got to hit shots, and then we'll play good defense in the fourth and we'll win? And it's like, no, man, this is a team that gives you fifth gear energy all 4 quarters, overtime, double overtime, whatever it is, they are always in fifth gear. And even if you're more talented, you have to match that. And I just think Denver maybe thought they didn't have to in game 2 a little bit.
I think there's a lot of that too. And teams have done that in the past. Like I feel like that was something those Warriors teams had to learn. They would get a little loose. Steph starts throwing it behind the back. It's like, you don't have to give up this 15-point lead that you work so hard to get. I do think Denver does that a little bit. And I think it was so many wins in a row. And the press was glowing for the first time, right, about the Denver Nuggets. This stuff can be a little easily overstated. It's got to lock back in here in game 3. But I do think that happened. And I think it's not good to have lost this game. It's the finals. You want to sweep. You want it to be done. It's good to win 4 games in a row. But they can come out of this. They can learn from this. They can be better in game 3. You got to know why you lost these games, right? That's Malone's big thing. You want to see that figured out and cleaned up in game 3.
I love making boxing comparisons to basketball, just because I think boxing is like the purest sport. It's like the original sport, just combat. But they remind me of, there's boxers that have a really strong jaw, and even if they are not as talented, it's like, well, I'm going to get 10 rounds. So you're not going to knock me. You might beat me 9 rounds, but you're not going to knock me out, and maybe I just catch you on one. And I feel like that's Miami. You're not going to knock them out. They just will not be knocked out. You're going to have to keep punching all the way until the buzzer goes, and if you didn't stop, you'll probably win. And maybe like Nate Diaz, I guess, in MMA, he was that guy. Like, he's just a crazy. He could get bloody, is all over the place, and then he gets an arm bar because he was tripped up for 1 second, and he won despite losing every round. They're kind of like that, and I just have so much appreciation for him. But the last thing, and then we can go to break after this, but this is our first finals as media members. Absolutely exhausting. What did we do for all of our intro? Talked about sleeping, this or that, and it's mentally exhausting as well because it just keeps going and the intensity is there. And I have to imagine for these players, it's something similar. And when people say you don't know what it's like till you've been there, I imagine part of what they're like, I can't explain it. I imagine part of what they're saying is this part of it. When you've been locked in and in pressure and all the media and distractions and everything else for essentially 3 months, it's exhausting. And I think that when we talk about fractures this or that. I don't think those happened a month ago or 2 months ago. But when you've been through so many of them, it's just a little bit easier to be like, you know what, F you, man. Pass me the ball a little bit more. And those types of things start to creep in.
Yeah. That's when you got to lean on your culture, though, because, I mean, the Heat should be exhausted from that same thing. It's not like the Heat have ever been on this stage before. They were.
What do you mean?
Like Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler. Like
they were in the finals, no?
In the bubble.
I see.
Completely
Okay.
different.
Yeah, that's fair.
You didn't have this media circus. You didn't have all these things.
Let me say, you're 100% right about that part. But everybody said the bubble was the most, like, teams were just ready to get out of the bubble and it was easy to quit. And so they had, I think it was mentally exhausting to be in the jail that was Disney
but I think
World.
it was a different type of mental exhaustion. I mean, the Nuggets, like, I think the Nuggets should be fine in that respect. Yeah.
They were. The Heat were so exhausted in game one. That's the weirdest thing is that, like, in talking about these two games, it's like, oh, man, like, you know, the Heat really figured something out. They showed resolve, blah, 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 blah. But, like, Denver beat the hell out of them in game one. And we've only had 2 games. And they won by 3 points the second game. Like, I feel like
I don't think game 2 was as close as that, though. Like
they were down 12 with like 3 minutes.
12-point
I mean, at the end of the day, they're an inch away
became
from.
a
I don't think that you can
overtime.
discount.
Both things are true.
I don't think that you can discount the run that Denver made at the
I
end.
agree.
Like,
I agree.
To me, it wasn't fluky. It was just, it showed who Denver actually is. They just, unfortunately, had that stretch in the middle of the fourth where they were like the Heat. They kept, it was a math problem. They kept getting 3 points, and the Nuggets would get 2 points, and then they fouled a shooter. It was just like 8 or 9 of those in a row. I just think, like, I thought it was good that Miami bounced back and they played, and Max Strus hit shots, and their players looked like they could play again. But I mean, I'm not like, oh man, that team's so much tougher than Denver. I'm like,
Here's one thing to say: they shot 49% from 3 last game.
Yes, which is insane.
And it was also their 5th best 3-point shooting game of this playoffs.
Yep, they've been doing it.
I'm not gonna just say they're going to miss shots, even if I don't think they're gonna have 3 more games of that. Right. They do have something about them that I just don't think. Everybody said this about Denver, man. Like, what did Minnesota say? Well, they won't shoot like that again. Then Suns, they won't shoot like that again. But Miami, it actually is who they are.
But my thing is, like, they hit that and they won by 3 points.
Right.
And
I actually am with you there.
And MPJ has been shooting worse than we've seen him shoot
That
in a
might-
2-3 game stretch for his career. Like, and Jamal was bad. And, like, all the Nuggets were bad. All the Nuggets are bad, except for Jokic and Murray at the end. And it still was like that. You know, it's like I think that we saw a big punch from Miami, and it wasn't that. It didn't like really knock Denver back as much as it would maybe seem throughout the conversation.
I agree with you about the margin for error, for sure. I think Denver can beat Miami even if Miami shoots 50%.
I agree.
I think it's possible.
But to your point, and Dan Devine said this the other day, who's been covering the Heat for this playoff run, you get in the first round, everyone says, man, we haven't seen the Bucks play that bad. You know,
Totally.
They really did not play like themselves. And then you get the Knicks series, which was whatever. Then you get the Boston ones, like, man, Boston did not play like themselves in this. And now Denver, game 1, did they play like themselves? No.
Nope.
Game 2, did they play like themselves? No.
They looked like
There's just
Boston.
something. I just give Miami a little credit. Denver can overcome it because I truly believe Denver's the better team. But I just don't want to just do the thing that other people do to Denver, which is say, oh, that just was our team didn't show up and this and that. It's like, no, man, they make you not show up.
I agree with that premise. I just feel like the way that all of this goes, always with the series, and like probably what makes it so fun to follow is the wild swings of like Denver is untouchable, can't be beaten. Miami is gritty and you can't stop. It's like, all right, like calm down.
These are two tough
but
teams.
I think they're actually true, though.
Yeah.
That's what's cool about it, is it's actually true. And who wins that battle is the one, you know, like Denver can break through this defense. And if they do, I think the floodgates open. Let's get to more. So that was big picture stuff. Let's get into some more of the specifics about what Miami is doing and what Denver was doing in game 2 on the other side.
When you get hurt, Backus and Schenker is here to help. Backus and Schenker wins for Colorado families. They've been helping those who are seriously injured in Colorado for more than 25 years. and you don't pay Backus and Schenker any money until they win your case. No upfront fees.
We can't use the moisture.
To speak with them about your case, no fees while they work on your case. They've won over $1 billion for their clients, now with even more locations serving all of Colorado, including neighborhood offices in Denver, Aurora, Englewood, and Fort Collins.
Stop scooting to work.
Backus and Schenker has the strength and power to win your case with more than 30 lawyers and 100 staff members. Backus and Schenker helps with all kinds of injury cases where you weren't at fault. Car accidents, motorcycle, rideshare, pedestrian, trucks. They even help you if you're injured at work. Call them today, 303-222-2222 to find out if you have a case for free. Backus and Schenker wins. Also, make sure to check out Manscaped, especially if you need a Father's Day gift. Father's Day is right around the corner, guys. If you haven't gotten your dad anything, may I suggest hooking him up with Manscaped?
Yes, but then you can't have any further conversation with him about it.
Why don't you get him the Performance Package 4.0? He'll thank you later. The Performance Package 4.0 comes with the Lawnmower 4.0, their 4th generation trimmer. Features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. It also comes with a 4000K LED spotlight. The Lawnmower 4.0 even allows you to customize your trim through additional guard lengths with sizes 1 through 4. You also get the Weed Whacker 2.0, nose and ear hair trimmer, the best nose and hair trimmer on the market. Also a bunch of other goodies in that package as well. When you use the code DNVR with Manscaped, you get 20% off plus free shipping. That's at manscaped.com. So Father's Day is around the corner. If you need a gift, check out Manscaped. But then don't talk to your dad after.
Yeah, just be like, here's a gift that you'll enjoy, and I don't ever want to hear about it.
Came from Anonymous. I don't even know who it came from. 20%
really
off
use it.
plus free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code DNVR.
Alrighty, back here, segment 2. Let's keep that one. Let's talk about some adjustments from game 2. Number
Stagger.
1.
Sorry.
No. Things
Rotation.
things that already happened in game 2.
Okay.
Kevin Love starting. Now, here's what you need to know, because Kevin Love was a massive positive in this game. He was a plus 18. That was second best on the team, behind only Gabe Vincent. I actually think it's a very important shift, and here's why. It allows Jimmy Butler to guard Jamal Murray. In the previous matchups, he had to be on Aaron Gordon, and in transition, we talked about all those Strus, Gabe Vincent, some of these other guys. They get bully balled, Caleb Martin. They get bully balled by Aaron Gordon. Well, now Kevin Love is big enough that that advantage is at least mitigated. I think Denver should and can exploit that more, but we'll talk about that later. But Jimmy Butler being able to say from the jump, I've got Murray, has twofold. Number one, he's a heck of a defender. Murray, I thought, was not great in this game offensively, made bad decisions offensively, and was more or less like the ball didn't get popping. People say turn Jokic into a scorer. I think what it more was take away the pick and roll. Jokic, a lot of Jokic's passing comes from pick and roll, starts there, rotations are going, and now Jokic is passing. I actually think they got into passing lanes on post-ups and everything else. The point is the defense wasn't in rotation. So to me, that's the first part. We'll stick to that. There's another part of the Jimmy Butler saga, but that is a great adjustment, not because Kevin Love's great, but because it freed up Butler.
100%. And it just changed the whole feel of the game from the jump. Because what happened at the start of game 1?
AG.
They went to Aaron Gordon every single time, and he racked up 12 points in like the first 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon was like a non-factor in the first quarter. And it's weird because I feel like he can still dominate Kevin Love like one-on-one, but Denver just didn't look for him like they did in the first quarter of game 1 last night.
But But in transition, he wasn't open, and then a lot of this is again pick and roll. His guy has to play in between or step up, and Denver didn't get to that. They just didn't get to it.
Yeah. So I mean, that just changed the whole feel of it, and it was a good adjustment.
Yeah, I mean, another thing we pointed out on the show last night, it was that like it really just allowed the paint to be just completely packed on Miami's defensive end, where Aaron Gordon didn't have that room to drop, just get drop-offs from Jokic, and Jokic didn't have room to operate, and then it's like it started off both teams in kind of opposite directions. The Nuggets were 0 for like 7, their first 7, because they were ended up taking kind of bad, weird shots.
Oh, the start of the game, Denver decision making was so bad. They did not adjust to that lineup very quickly at all.
And to me, that's like really kind of what started. I mean, obviously that set the tone for the game, but it just, and it wasn't even that Kevin Love was, out physicaling Aaron Gordon. It just
made it different.
He's just a big guy. Like, he's just in there, and it's you don't have room to operate, and it changed everything. And you're right. Like the Nuggets were not prepared for that for some reason.
And then I would say Denver can smartly try to go to a lot of 5-4 pick and rolls.
They went to it the first play of the game, and Jokic had that weird layup from the elbow that he took off from.
So Denver, I think they ran it 5 times by my count. I might have missed 1 or 2, and I think they only scored on it 1 time. And to me, that's an action that should work. You're using through your 3 best shooters as floor spacers, so you're putting pressure on them in that way. And Kevin Love, we know this, is not a great pick and roll guy, and he's not a great switcher. Denver should be able to get, and Jokic in particular, I think the details of that 5-4 pick and roll were horrible. I thought the angles on the screen were horrible, and I think that it was ineffective in part because of the execution of it. So to me, I don't think that that's the key to this is the 5-4 and how you attack it, but it is something that they got away with the easy part, even though the easy part was the margins. They got away with it in this game, and they have to take advantage of it.
And Denver doesn't really do this because I think Denver trusts their offense so much they focus on what they want to do more than what you are making them do.
Yeah.
But could it be a 1-4 pick and roll and you're trying to get that switch, right? And then it's Jamal eating Kevin Love alive, or AG's bringing the ball up more. Just little things you could try. There was that stretch of the game. Was it the third quarter where AG was kind of eating in the dunker spot a little bit? Though he had some alley-oop finishes. I don't know if Denver was able to get back.
Whoa.
Jesus Christ.
You saw that? Another one that was right here, huh?
That was like a cannonball.
That was a loud thunder.
So, real question. Do we have to build an ark?
Denver does not rain like this. It's a desert. It's a high desert. It's been raining for a month.
Will you collect 2 of each bird?
I will. I would gladly collect 2 of each bird.
So anyway, yes, I agree that there are ways that they can look at that and attack it more than they did. And look, part of this too is Denver. Everyone saw the same thing in game 1. Miami was too small. That was not going to work. Denver forced an adjustment. Miami changed their starting lineup by game 2, and it caught Denver off guard a little bit in the first 5 minutes of that game. So now the ball is in their court in terms of responding with toughness, but also adjustments.
Right.
So it also just going bigger. I think Kevin Love grabbed 10 rebounds in that game. And that was the second highest rebound total of any Heat, maybe any player. It's up there. Yeah. So that made a big difference as well.
And then the other part of that Butler adjustment or Kevin Love adjustment is that I highlighted this on the list for game 1, but it was true of both teams in game 2. Both teams have the same battle, and I actually asked Erik Spoelstra about it. How do you risk hunting matchups, mismatches, when you become mixed up in transition the other way if you don't score? Well, Jimmy Butler guarding Murray means that Murray is guarding Jimmy Butler more than he would like to in transition, because if you miss, if you take a jump shot and you're the deepest guy back and Jimmy contests it, you have to sprint to beat Jimmy back, which means you have to match up with Jimmy. So I thought there was a lot of that as well. It wore Murray down that he would get in cross match, have to guard Butler and ISO just a lot. And it wasn't that Butler was scoring on him. It's just that it caused strain on the rest of the defense.
Wearing Murray down has been the theme of the playoffs. Every adjustment, defensive adjustment on Jamal Murray is oh, there's a bigger guy on him now that's making him work, and now he's wearing down.
Yeah,
it's just over and over and over. That's just what has happened every round. But then the Nuggets have overcome it. They figured out how to work with it.
Here's the next one for you, Wind. So the Jimmy Butler adjustment, or I guess it's really the Kevin Love adjustment, but it's Jimmy Butler that benefits. That's number 1. Number 2 is, and this happened in the second half of game 1. Miami, usually you space the perimeter. You'll have a guy in the corner, guy on the wing, guy on the top of the key, and a guy on the other wing, right? They started spreading the nearest guys out as far as they can. So that, and sometimes it was one on the left wing with the ball, and then the nearest guy would be all the way out on the farther side. That was 30 feet away, meaning they're creating as much space because Denver likes to help over, shade over, and stunt on drives, in particular on Jimmy Butler. And if you're 15 feet away, stunt 7 feet and recover 7 feet, right? It's not that hard. When it's 30 feet, I thought Denver overhelped so much off of those, and it led to a lot of like fake drives and wide open kickouts.
Yes.
And a lot of this is, for me, I think Denver needs to trust their perimeter defenders, namely Aaron Gordon, more. He did get beat by Jimmy in some ways that I'm like, come on, man, you got to make a stop there. So he needs to really be locked in as they go to Miami. But at the same time, Miami I don't know that they're going to beat Denver on 2-pointers one-on-one over and over and over again. They are on kickouts.
Jimmy knows it too. It's like that's what worked for Denver in game one.
Right.
Because they stayed home on the shooters. And they were like, we know that Jimmy doesn't actually want to score 60. And
but to your point, I just want to interrupt because to your point, they stayed home on shooters because Miami allowed them to by how they spaced the court. When Miami changed that, you realize they're not actually staying home on shooters. They're just, now they have more room. I do think they need to stay home on shooters, though.
That's what I was going to say, is that I think Denver fell for it.
Right.
I think Denver fell for it. And I actually thought that was Mike's biggest sort of mistake on defense. There were so many, he really wants to be this help defender, and he had some big moments in game one. Those Jimmy drives, Mike was like basically double teaming, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, man, that's what they want you to do. So
yeah.
The Nuggets defense was just all over the place last night. I mean, that's ultimately why they lost, I think. Just
for sure,
the lack of discipline, the miscommunication, the lack of focus defensively was so glaring.
Yeah.
And it happened like right to start the game. Like Max Strus had 4 3-pointers. I think there were like egregious miscommunications and breakdowns on all 4 of them that led to him getting wide open. And that was just so surprising to see, because the Nuggets all playoffs have been so locked in, you know, so focused. They've been paying attention to detail. They've been locked in on the game plan, tendencies, personnel. And yesterday they just relaxed, I feel like, and lost their focus and let it slip. And those plays that stood out, like Miami ran the exact same action 2 plays in a row in the second half. One time they got a Gabe Vincent wide open 3 out of it. One time they got a Duncan Robinson layup, and they kind of took advantage of this Christian Brown, Bruce Brown miscommunication between those two. And that's why like last night was so jarring, because the Nuggets have been so locked in all playoffs long. We haven't had to worry about that. And last night, we just saw some of the miscues that plagued them throughout the regular season creep back in.
So we're talking about overhelping. Now you're talking about the switches, the rub actions, the off-ball actions, the pin downs. And I 100% agree. If I actually would said one reason they lost, it was what you're referencing right here.
Totally.
The blown off-ball switches were laughably bad. But this is where I circle back to what I said about giving Miami credit. They run a very, very, very smart offense and defense, but they put you in position to make mistakes. They bring up a lot of 4-person ball action. So a lot of like, you think of like a double screen, they'll run a lot of 3-person where they'll run the 2 off-ball guys, a 3rd guy up off of those off-ball, and then the 2 guys screen for the ball. So you're really involving 4 different screen coverages, like 4 guys in 2 different screen coverages. And it's tough, and it requires a lot of thought and a lot of reading. And I just think Denver, to your point, was on their heels. Like they clearly were not locked in. But also, it's harder to guard this team at that. You have to be especially locked in for this team, more so than any of the other teams that they faced, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Phoenix didn't really do any of this. You know,
At all,
Phoenix
right.
is just,
At all.
Oh, Kevin Durant, ISO. Okay, now Devin Booker, ISO.
Yep.
The Lakers were just like such a mess by the end of that series. It was different as well. I mean, Miami is so different than any team the Nuggets have faced in these playoffs.
Well, and to your point, the Lakers and Wolves don't have the personnel. Like the Miami has enough players that you're like, all right, there's 3 people and they can all score in the perimeter. So we got up, this or that. Other teams, it's like, all right, I got Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I got this guy. We can slack off him. So I just, again, when we talk about being locked in, Denver can be better locked in just off of the guys that they played. But I do think that there is something to, they make it especially hard. They give you the big test in terms of, are you focused on this one? And that's why I don't want to just brush aside, they'll be more focused. It only gets more complicated from here.
Yeah. And then you have those breakdowns, and then you've got guys bitching at each other, and then you've got guys getting pulled for their defense, and it puts Denver in a place where it hasn't been in the postseason so far.
D-Led, I'm curious what you think of this one, because I think that this Heat team is actually more like the Golden State Warriors of old than people realize. one, the 3-point shooting, but two, because of how smart you have to be. One difference between Denver and Golden State, because Denver's offense has also broken teams, but it's a lot of like LeBron. What did he say afterwards? You just tip your hat because we did what we wanted and they'd make shots. The Warriors would get Steph Curry wide open. And you're like, how is the best shooter on the planet wide open?
Precisely.
And I think that's what the Heat do as well, where you're like, why is Max Strus wide open? Again, and that's why I give this team the mental tough thing, because those types of plays are the ones that get guys bitching at each other. And I think that's a little bit, when I see guys leaving early, I'm like, yeah, they didn't just make shots. They made it where like, that MFer didn't switch on this and I'm mad. And that's the part where they get you.
Definitely. I mean, definitely. The Nuggets found themselves in a position that they just were not accustomed to being in, which is just on their heels. And I mean, yes, like, and especially for Michael Porter Jr., KCP, like these, Michael Porter Jr. has worked himself back to a place where we don't ever question his defense anymore, and like he got like really badly exposed. So
right.
But you're right. I mean, it's just like it's just this is what everybody was saying, is that when you have Erik Spoelstra as your coach, there is an edge that revealed itself. It's like you really can scheme your way into an easier time out on the basketball court if you're just being smart about it, and they did, and it worked, but it didn't work by a large margin.
Oh, again, if this is basketball, right? Like all these things happen, and it's like, it came down to 2 possessions,
which is why, by the way, I think Erik Spoelstra hated that question so much. It's just like, that's a principle of one of the many things we were trying to do.
Right.
But a basketball game is so complicated.
Of course.
And Jokic is so great. And like, you think we just pushed the he's a scorer now
so
button.
True.
That's not a thing. There were 100 things we tried to do. 85 of them worked. We got lucky in XYZ, and so that's what we do. We distill the complicated things into talking points. But for a guy like Spoelstra, he's like, yeah, sure, whatever, man. We turned him into a scorer. You're right.
Yeah, but it's like the Rui adjustment. It was a thing, but it also was, in my opinion, like the third most important thing. But it was part of it.
I was going to those Lakers practices, and Darvin Ham was like, no, that's not the answer. Right. It was one of 19 things we're trying to do.
That's like one thing, one punch we threw. It's not our... Yeah. Let's take a break, though. There's more notes here from my notebooks that we'll go over here in the third segment.
Guys, Illegal Pete's, this episode of the DNVR Nuggets podcast, brought to you by Illegal Pete's. Illegal Pete's, your go-to spot this summer. Are you ready for the longest happy hour around? 3 to 8 p.m. every single day.
You guys want to go hit up the patio right now?
It is patio season still.
It's patio season. It's raining really hard.
Margs and a hurricane.
At what
Let's
point
do
does it
it.
stop becoming happy hour?
It should be happy hours. Is what you're saying?
That's a good
I
point.
mean, I think you're right. 3 to 8 p.m. every single day
5 happy
at
hours.
all 12 Illegal Pete's locations. That's happy hour. The longest happy hour around. Great prices. Enjoy a few extra margaritas on the patio. Don't forget to stop by Illegal Pete's on Nuggets game days. Wear your Nuggets gear into any Illegal Pete's location and grab a house margarita or draft beer for free with the purchase of an adult entree. So wear your favorite shirt designed by this guy.
Hell yeah, dude.
Walk into any Illegal Pete's.
Benefit from
Get
it.
a burrito. Get a free marg. Then go sit on the patio for happy hour. Like, that sounds like a great afternoon.
Just not that patio part today.
Yeah, they have inside. You can go inside.
Yeah, you don't. It doesn't.
Lots of seats in
happy
there.
hours can take place inside.
Yes, absolutely. Also, Breckenridge Brewery is the official beer of DNVR. If you don't know where to get Breck Brew, check out the Breck Brew beer locator. That's on their website. All you have to do is go on there, put in your zip code. A bunch of different locations that sell Breck Brew pop up. It will tell you exactly where to go to get your favorites. If you're local, drop by the DNVR bar. We got tons of Breck Brew on tap. I mean, I don't know if we still do after last night. Like, we might need to replenish a little bit. But we got all your favorites here at the bar. Breckenridge Brewery is the official beer of DNVR.
All right, back here, segment 3. We're going through some notebook notes on the Game 2 loss from the Denver Nuggets. Real quick, guys, housekeeping. Do us a favor. If you're on TikTok, check out our new TikTok channel, DNVR Clips. If you're on YouTube, also check out that channel, DNVR Clips. You're not going to want to miss it. We have some really cool stuff, so you never miss any of the great content. Maybe you missed a show, you're curious. Chris Dempsey, Liv Moods, Bomani Jones. We've had a lot of cool people on the show over the last week or so.
Just us.
Just us sometimes.
D-Line Co.
D-Line making jokes. You never know what you're going to find over there. So do us a favor, and just while you're listening to this, open that one up. Give it a little subscribe. We appreciate it. Another thing that was important about this one, I want to get into some more details, but one thing was this was a really bad game from KCP, maybe the worst game of the playoffs for him, namely because he had 3 shooting fouls, 2 on three-pointers, 1 on a jumper. And
then he had the one on Gabe Vincent that was like almost called a 3 as well. And they called it on the floor for 2 shots.
Yes. It was really, really bad, some of the decision-making he had in this one. And I thought, and this is why I say I give Miami credit, because somehow it happens to every team that plays them. Denver's been poised. Denver's been tough. And yet last night, veteran KCP was frustrated. He was so clearly flustered by things and making bad decisions because of that frustration. And so Denver, I think, can be more disciplined. I think they got caught off guard. But to me, it stands out that they lost by 3. KCP gave up like 8 points just off of fouling jump shooters.
Second game in a row where I thought KCP confused the opponent with the referees, you know, and it's not something he's done all year.
Great point.
And yeah, he was involved in some of those miscommunications. He fouled 3 perimeter shooters. He was on the ground looking for calls. He put up that one wild 2-pointer off the Jokic screen because he just thought he felt contact.
Yeah,
and he
that was
threw it up there.
And you rewatched that, and maybe there was contact, but it was such light contact to throw up a terrible shot.
And
you
so
better be certain you're getting the call if you're doing that.
It was bizarre, man, because I think these are just he's been so trustworthy and airtight, and that was all right. Well, 1 of 3 from 3 again. That's one thing. But you still win that game if KCP is a poised veteran. So this is to your point, and I love that you keep making it because there are 2 teams in these finals. And as much as I think Denver is better than Milwaukee or Boston, Miami makes your composed players look uncomposed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a shocking development. Like, out of all the players that I felt would lose their cool potentially in the finals against the Heat, KCP would have been, like, not even close to being on that list.
Right.
Like, he's a guy you always know you can count on. He's got the championship pedigree. He's been in these situations before. But he has looked shook in these first 2 finals games. Getting into it with the refs, just, like, losing his cool. Just really uncharacteristic plays from him. And it's been shocking. Like I said, like I did not think he would be the guy that we'd be talking about in this type of conversation.
Man, he's like the screens that are happening that he's involved in have been like really like
violent.
I mean, Bam Adebayo's screens have been like very questionable in a lot of cases and violent. And also KCP has been trying to, like, his reaction was to try to embellish and kind of flop, and that put him in a weird place. And then he was like going underneath and then trying to recover really quickly and jumping out at guys and then landing in their space. Like he's been really was really affected last night through screening in a way that you don't normally see against it. And I don't know if it's like a point of emphasis that they were trying to do that, but it like that was the thing that like KCP. There were so many times where he was just like on the ground, like trying to sell a flop, or he was getting actually knocked down, or and so they were playing very physically on him, and it got him out of his rhythm. It got him out of his headspace.
100%. Do we have it? Do we have it, Alyssa?
Yeah, it's just that.
That's all right. Well, that's all right. He's not a conspiracy. We have to go to conspiracy corner here. We have to go to conspiracy corner for a second.
Oh, goody.
He was trying to draw a lot of fouls on illegal screens, didn't get the call. Yeah, there's a couple. I never like to blame the official. I don't think the officials, it's an act of God, whatever. A couple like the goaltend, the miss that was like an obvious one. Butler stepping on the line on a huge kick out for a 3-pointer. That was a huge, huge shot. Then I find out today that old John, is it John Goebbels?
Yeah,
John Noble Goebel.
John Noble Goebbels was a teammate of Udonis Haslem? Hold on a second.
That means he played sometime in the last 50 years.
That is true. He did play
not
50
on the
years
Miami
ago.
Heat,
not on the Miami Heat in college. Wait wait a second.
Yeah, what?
This is a little strange.
Yeah,
This is
man.
actually bizarre.
You don't listen. You don't get to oftentimes like when there's a championship in college, they'll like bring in a different conference's officiating squad to keep and to mitigate things like this. That's wild.
I mean, if you were on trial, D-line, for a crime,
When I'm on trial.
when you're on trial,
Next time on trial.
next time you're on trial,
Last you were on trial.
we did the full circle.
Hell yeah, I wouldn't.
They would never let me be a juror because I would definitely make you guilty.
Yes.
Like there's no way they would allow me to
They
be on
also
that.
usually the victim of the crime is not on the.
You're right. That's a
in the
good point.
jury.
Another good
That's
point.
a really good point. No, but like it's obviously a conflict of interest to say this person cannot make impartial decisions because they have a prior relationship.
This is what we need to have in the NBA is that you get to do a jury selection. You get to do a referee selection, and then you have each side coming in and asking questions and throwing out.
Oh, was it called voir dire? Voir dire. They did that for referees.
in there
I would
like,
love that. If we made it unofficial, the referees, we don't know who it is till tip off, and 7 referees come out. Each buddy gets to
I will
talk
say,
2 out.
it was interesting how NBA.com/official always posts the referee assignments at 7 a.m. before every single game.
Really?
There were no ref assignments posted yesterday morning.
Man.
That was interesting to me.
I don't want to go down this road too far because it's uncomfortable.
But I will say this. Why does the NBA do this?
Why do they do
Help
it?
yourselves.
Just help yourself.
Why did
I
they
don't
not
think-
want to let us know John
Right.
Noble Goebel
I don't think it was
on the assignment for game 2?
I don't think it was a conspiracy.
It was too late.
But I think there are refs out there that did not spend their entire lives in Miami. I do think that.
They could have just probably
They could have
found
just
one.
found one.
They could have found one.
Could have
that's
just found
not-
one.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Riley Laws.
They can't find any that didn't grow up outside of Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
it's
weird
either
one.
County.
Delco County or you were a teammate of one of the players in the final. Those are your two choices.
I'll take Delco.
both corrupt.
I'll take Delco. Thank you.
But there is all right. So that was fun, and also like it actually is genuinely.
It
weird. But
probably
whatever, let's
just
move on.
actually was not a thing at all.
Yeah, yeah.
But let's move on anyway.
But maybe.
One thing about Jimmy Butler guarding Murray, Murray has to be better, and he has to figure out how to crack the Jimmy Butler code. Jimmy Butler's so disciplined on defense. He's not even like blocking shots or getting steals on him as that much. It's really just like taking away the process, right? And challenging and making him take bad shots and make bad decisions. But one way to beat that, Murray is a three-point shooter. Jimmy Butler guarding him means if he's off ball, he has to be guarding. He's basically out of the play. He's taken out. Denver doesn't have great secondary ball handlers, but I do wonder if there's more space in game 3 for Bruce Brown to be a creator and for KCP to be a creator. KCP actually had a really good pick and roll that was a set play for Denver late in the game where he ran the action, Murray off ball, he turns the corner, gets baseline, and makes a great play. I think it was for a dunk, for a wide open dunk for Aaron Gordon. We don't see him as the playmaker very often, but Gabe Vincent's not going to be a stopper. You know, Strus is definitely not going to be a stopper. And if those are the guys that are guarding you off ball, it might be worth saying just a couple times, like, hey, let's test how much Jimmy Butler's willing to go stand in the corner while the Nuggets run their offense elsewhere. I think that's one adjustment they can make in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when Gabe Vincent is just like out there trying to win an Oscar for best actor in a leading role because that's what he did in game
There was
2.
a lot of flailing. Man, the one he drew on Joker
That
was like such
embarrassing.
that
It
was rough.
embarrassing for Heat culture. But yeah, I mean, Gabe Vincent's not a good defender. KCP has the size, and like KCP
Strus
can
is a terrible defender. Duncan Robinson.
create. I mean, I actually think Strus is capable. He's capable. I think he's a smart player. I don't think he screws up that much. But Gabe Vincent, yes, he's a guy the Nuggets should take advantage of. And KCP can. Like, we've seen KCP do that and run that pick and roll action with Joker and come off for that mid-range jumper so many times.
Yeah.
He's comfortable in that. Like, he can hit that shot.
Yeah. So that might be an adjustment, and that leads to the last one, which we should do in the final segment, which is Denver has not had to make a rotation adjustment in these playoffs yet.
Not one.
I think they might need to for this series. Vogt was going to debate on the other side, the final side of this one.
Oh, my God. I thought we were going to talk about if they made Nikola Jokic into a scorer.
We can get into that. We should get it's part of it. We should get into it.
Shady Rays, guys. Use the code DNVR for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. You can get that at shadyrays.com. This is exclusively for our listeners. our loyal DNVR listeners. ShadyRays.com. Use the code DNVR for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by 250,000 people. Shady Rays, they're an independent sunglass company. They offer a world-class product. It's just as good as some of those expensive pairs that you've probably worn. Really durable frames, extremely clear optics, perfect for any occasion. Go to ShadyRays.com. They've got tons of different styles to pick from. Like, whatever type of sunglass you're into, they've got it at Shady Rays. So ShadyRays.com. Use the code DNVR for 50% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try yourself the shades rated 5 stars by 250,000 people.
Perfect. All right, back here. So the big question is,
Oh boy.
very confusing defensive assignments for Denver because of how smart they are and how much action, how much off-ball action there is. A level of intensity that you need. Porter provides offense for Denver.
Sometimes.
Well, I mean, he provides spacing. Even when he doesn't make shots, he provides
Fact.
spacing, like no matter what, just existing. So the question is, he's not making shots so far, and he's made in this last game a lot of mistakes. I was surprised that he played as much as he did. Honestly, I know that sounds wild.
He played like 28 minutes.
26 minutes. And, Bruce Brown played 27, so about even. I would not be surprised, and this is not necessarily a knock on Porter as much as I hope I'm wrong, because I hope he just overcomes it, because Denver is better with his offense on the court. But when I watch how confusing this assignment is defensively, I look at it and I go, I'm pretty confident Bruce is going to be good at this. And I'm pretty skeptical that Michael Porter is. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is a series, or maybe it's just a counter you make in game 3, that you can slide those scales. Michael Porter comes out and knocks down all of his shots again and gets out of the slump he's in, then probably it doesn't matter. It's like you're just gaining extra points, and even though you're losing some. But I do suspect that this might be one that you need all your best defenders, which includes, by the way, I think Christian Brown even has a big role in this series because he's big. He had a huge impact, and they just need defenders. You can trust Jokic to make enough offense. You can trust Murray and Jokic to make enough offense. Porter's a luxury. You need to get stops, and I just wonder if Bruce and Christian, but we'll say Bruce, maybe will get, or I imagine Malone is prepared to play him 30+ in game 3 if Porter doesn't make him. How do you feel about it?
We've talked about this all year, or I have actually, that I view it very similar as the Jordan Poole to Gary Payton kind of switch up.
Yeah.
That ultimately won the Warriors a championship, right? And so I think there's something too, as a game goes on, making the live call that Bruce should be playing more. I don't think you're suggesting this. You still got to start Mike. I think you still.
I don't think you can change the starting.
And I think you got to trust him a little bit too. In game 1, Mike did everything right despite not hitting his shots. Now I know game 2 is different. Every game is different, and why game 2 is different matters, right? Specifically to what you're saying. But now Mike gets a couple of days, right, with the coaching staff to look at this. What went wrong? I do think in terms of pure effort, he's the one whose effort needs to be lifted up as well. He gets to sit with the coaches and say, this is why this doesn't work for you in game 2. This is where you can be better. I just think this is a guy that just in game 1, we saw his impact. I have a little more trust in Mike than I think others do. Having said that, it is the finals. And I don't think there's any shame. It's a feature of your roster that you can put Bruce Brown in there. And I don't think there's any shame in leaning heavily on that.
It's the ultimate test of ego.
Yeah.
That you get to this point and it's like, would you do anything to win, including not play? Or
By the
play
way,
different minutes?
I think he would too.
Yeah, and that's honestly just the thing. Like, I think Miami is so good about this. Like, their culture really is the best because of that, where Jimmy Butler leads them, but he gets 12 points or whatever. But, Eric, here's my question. If we all kind of agree that, he might start but have a tight hook, like don't make mistakes, does that mean he's going to be extra nervous about 3-point shots, extra nervous about screwing up defensive assignments? Does that actually set him up to fail, knowing, hey, man, we might have to make an adjustment, but you got one last chance?
I mean, the man's not a rookie. He's been through this. This has been what he's gone through the entire time he's been in Denver. He's in, he's out. They trust him. They don't. Going down the stretch, they're not closing with him, blah, blah, blah. He stays ready. This is the saga of Michael Porter Jr. because his play isn't always consistent in the ways that you want it to be. And oftentimes he gets exposed for mental portions of the game. And sometimes when you run into something that is indirect or just really takes advantage of the things he's not good at, like whatever, like
Yeah.
But he's been through this. He's been through. To me, it's like you don't worry about any of that stuff anymore. You're not.
You can at this stage. You have to
that's what
do
I mean.
it.
You're not
We
losing
can worry about it.
Yeah, I can't think about anything. I'm very tired. But like you just think about how at this point, like if they did make an adjustment and lost Michael Porter Jr. as a result, it's like you have to trade Michael Porter Jr.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
if you're showing that, like in the biggest moment, that we can't rely on you to stay present,
Right.
that's more damning than any other thing that you can possibly show us on the basketball court. So I don't even think it's a consideration at this point. Like Michael Malone, his entire coaching philosophy is built on making guys feel like they are valued, not taking out vets too early because he'll blah, 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 blah. All that's out.
Yeah.
All of it, 100%. So they got to do it. They got to try it, and maybe it actually helps out Michael Porter Jr. Like taking away a lot of like the defensive pressure in big moments, and then he comes in and he just feels like just go and let it fly. Like maybe that's helpful to him. So I don't think it's even a question. You got to do it.
I mean, I don't think I would change up the rotation too much. I mean, if Porter's not hitting his shots, then you have to look to make some changes. I mean, he's 3 of 17 from 3 in these last 2 games.
3 of
he's
17.
6 of 27 from 3 in his last 3 games. I'm sitting here wondering if he's hurt or sick, because the only couple times this season where he's had like 3 games shooting this bad, he has been hurt or sick.
That is true.
So that's what I'm sitting here wondering. But I think you go into game 3 with a similar rotation that you had in games 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And you tweak it from there. But I don't think it's an exaggeration to say like this is the most important game of Michael Porter Jr.'s career coming up in game 3. This is an absolute legacy game for Michael Porter Jr. If he plays well, Nuggets are probably winning a championship. If he plays as poorly as he did last game, Denver might lose the finals.
Right.
Like I feel like he is up top when you're talking about most important players in game 3. And if the Nuggets have to go away from him, and like you said, D-Line, if they lose him because of that, then that's his problem. Like
Not good.
Yeah, like he's got to be ready for that, and he's just got to come to play.
And he is ready for that. He's been ready for it all year. That's the thing.
His whole career is this.
And he said that to Malone in Phoenix, right? I know the extent of what that conversation was, maybe a bit fudged, but I think
Did they disagree? Was it that was what it was?
Well,
When he
at
was
one
like,
point,
that's not how I remember.
Mike said that's not exactly how it went. Which I love.
Michael Malone is the best. He came to me and he said, "Coach, I want to not play.
I don't even
And
want to
then they
play.
gave him a test pregame at shoot around, and he passed.
I will say all of this though. Like we all know this, not lost on us. We do the show every day. We do the show after every game. We're reacting to game 2, and after game 2, it looks real bad for Mike. What if Mike comes out in game 3? He hits his threes. He looks great defensively. He has this figured out, and he comes through it on the other side, better prepared for finals, better prepared for the playoffs, a smarter, more composed player. Every step of the way, when we think he's hit the wall, he has found a way to break through. So, yeah, if you have to play Bruce Moore, you do it. I think Michael Porter Jr. was great in game 1. A- I gave him, even though he didn't hit shots. I still have faith. I think he could be great in game 3. So, bad game, man. Bad game all around. A little scary, specifically because is he, in a basketball sense, is he quick enough to keep up with the Heat in this series? But listen, man, he's not the first max contract player to go 2 for 8. I've watched Klay Thompson's career. Shit happens. Let's see if he bounces back in game 3. Let's see if he
not
bounces
forget
back.
the lesson of D'Angelo Russell, the max player that had that.
Here's what I
MPJ
guarantee.
not comparable to D'Angelo Russell.
I guarantee you the Heat right now, though, are saying, "Oh, we've got Michael Porter Jr."
Totally. I mean,
That's what they do, man.
We've gotten to Mike.
That's what they do.
I
have.
guarantee you, Jimmy Butler and like Gabe Vincent and Bam are just sitting around on couches, not on a podcast, but they're just talking. They're like, "We got him. You know,
Totally.
he's done.
Totally.
We've taken care of that. Now we just have to get the Jamal, and then we got the series." So
good luck.
That's I think where the Heat's head is at.
Sure.
And
Porter has to understand it.
right, because teams have gotten to Porter in previous playoff series. And last
Man,
night, last night looked like, Michael Porter against the Blazers 3 years ago in the playoffs, or
Right.
Michael Porter against the Suns.
Yep.
And that is what's concerning.
But that player learned from those and got better, right?
did.
And so now it's the finals, so they don't have a lot of time for this. And if they have to go to Bruce, you go to Bruce. But I just think that Michael Porter Jr. would not be here. And by here, I mean in the NBA, if he was not considerably more mentally tough than he is given credit for. And so let's see, man. You got challenged. You got pushed. A lot of guys are talented. They get to the NBA. It's not easy anymore, and they fold. I've seen Porter do the opposite of folding throughout his career. I want to see him play in Game 3. I'm excited now. You guys got me ready to go.
And just maybe hit Joker or Jamal if you have a contested jumper
Sure, man.
at the elbow
Yeah. Sure.
and they're wide open.
That was a bad photo. It was a bad
it was a
photo,
bad
but
read.
it happens, man.
It happens, man.
I like you have me fired up too, Vote, because this really is sports.
Wow.
And I'm maybe less confident as you that
Sure.
he was going to bounce back, but it is the cool thing about it is you start to see hey, this is what it takes. This is what it takes. You
Nowhere
got to
to
go
hide.
do that.
No, this is it. If you want to be that guy, you get through this obstacle. And man,
as a team,
it's exciting, man.
As a
It's
team,
exciting.
all the guys, KCP, Porter, Gordon, Murray, even Yoke, they all got to step up a little bit more. One last thing, the thing we talked about, where Porter can make more shots. This could have gone this way, that way. The biggest area of positive regression for Denver, I know Yoke was 16 of 28. He missed like 7 shots that I'm like, how did he miss that?
Well, they made him into a score.
Post up on Cody Zeller in the second quarter where he just like misses the layup. And I was like, man,
Also-
even those little margins for Yoke, I think, could be even better.
He's getting fouled, man. All those little floaters, he's getting fouled.
Every time. dude.
Noble Goebbels is officiating
Not
Game
according
3
to
again. Like,
Mr.
what the
Goebel.
hell?
Right. He's like, well, I mean, I already live in Miami.
Yeah,
You know,
already
I got a
here.
house.
He's going back home.
Hit
Game
that
3.
outro music for us, Alyssa. I thought this was a good
coming
show.
home.
It's a good show, boys.
We got into a lot of good details. You know what? I will say that throughout this run, there has been a sense of this was all easy. And I'm just kind of appreciative. Honestly,
Yes.
I mean this sincerely. I'm kind of appreciative of the fact that this one so far has not been. And,
Me too.
And there's something to like, all right, playoffs now have started in a way for the Nuggets.
Right.
And hopefully they can bounce
It's
back.
game
Although
three
it
of the finals.
could also
It's kind of true though. Like they haven't. What's the closest been? 2-2 against Miami. You said you were nervous for that one. I wasn't because that one was
for the Suns.
for the Suns one, where I was just like they ran so hot. They're tired.
But I mean, we were.
they won the next
I
two
wouldn't
games
say
by
that
40
we were
points.
nervous, but we felt down.
Yeah, we felt down.
Like that, we felt then like we feel now.
But no. I feel different now because I think what they do is more sustainable. Like that one was like, come on, but he's got to miss a few more shots.
to me, that represented like the best game that Miami can offer. Like maybe the one thing that you can have is Jimmy Butler goes off individually.
He hasn't gone off yet.
I'm saying like, but everything else was like they hit the outside shots, they play in zone, they like that to me looks like the prototypical Miami Heat game that they've been successful with for this entire playoff run. And again, they got by the absolute skin of their teeth. And the Nuggets, for whatever reason, and like you say, like this is a refrain that's been repeated by team after team. Like they didn't look like themselves. But I have so much faith in what Nikola Jokic is able to do. He's the most unflappable player in the league, maybe ever. Maybe the most unflappable human being in life. Jamal Murray had a very rough start, a very strong finish. There's just the things where you're like, oh, okay, we kind of know what's gonna come now, what this feels like. Like, just take a breath. Like, hit one shot, Mike. Hit 1 3, and we're going.
Or hit
overtime.
like 7 or 8.
But I'm saying, I don't,
I got it, man. I got it.
but just in general, like I'm just the things I'm reading. I'm like, what are we talking about? Like, what in God's these like insane adjustments, all this stuff. 3 fucking points, and the goddamn thing hit the back of the rim and almost went in. And the game that the Nuggets won, they beat the living fuck out of the Heat. And we've had 2 games.
Okay. All right. That does it for today.
That's what's happened.
That's what does it for today, guys. But guess what? We're back tomorrow, continuing talking about the finals and previewing Game 3. We'll see you guys then.
Let's